I mean, that play, I want to ask you, Parker, that last play, was it a defensive hold on
That looked like he was draped all over him. How did we not get a call there?
It's a 2-point conversion. 2-point conversion in a preseason game, Parker. That's why.
It matters. It matters. But anyway, we're live, Game On. We're here. We're ready to rock.
We're here. We're live. I'm here.
We're like
I'm here
right now. This is like, I am here. I am here.
Who day? Who day? Who day to everybody out in the chat? Who day to you, Parker? Your first official episode here tonight, Chatterbox Bengals. How you feeling, man?
I'm feeling a little angsty, man. I would have liked to get at least a second shot at that 2-point, but I'm feeling great that I'm here. I'm official on Chatterbox. Had the little cameo the other day, and now it's just me and you live, rocking us in the chat. Just let's go win us a ball game, huh?
Which I mean, you did fabulous the other day, by the way. In your 19-minute segment, I clipped up a few clips myself. I was very impressed. A lot of knowledge on the offensive line, the run game, everything. If you haven't had an opportunity yet, go and check that out. It was incredible. So, who day to all you out in the chat there? 17th Son. We got Parker's in the chat right now. Mark Fetters, longtime listener. Darth Bangle. Todd Stanford. Thank you guys for being here tonight. Who day? Saturday night with the fellas. That was a big play. And you know what? Shedrick was just wide open on that touchdown. Just absolutely.
There was no one in the area code. There was no one there at all.
And it reminds me of the Tinsley touchdown in the first half, right? I mean, nobody even close to him. And honestly, on the all-22, you just got to figure out what happened there, because on our side, we couldn't actually see, who was the man on him. I assume it was AG because that's who was on him later on in the game. But I mean, did you see anything from the Washington broadcast on that one?
No. And they just, I mean, they're just high. I mean, he's been going off tonight, honestly. And I think they looked really soft. They've been kind of letting him get in underneath. And that just seemed to be, I don't know, someone blew an assignment and I couldn't see. I mean, they barely even talked about the Bengals if they don't have to. So over here,
I hear you.
I'm getting all these silent interviews with people I've never heard of. It's been great.
Well, welcome. I'm excited to have you, brother. This is going to be a lot of fun. Just talking ball with you. I feel like you have such a great mind for the offensive line and overall the offense. The perspective is awesome, and I think the fans already see it if they watch that first interview. So excited, cannot wait.
I appreciate the kind words, brother, and I'm just excited to talk ball with you. I feel like we don't talk ball nearly enough with each other, and I feel like you have a great football mind in general. You're really a student of the game, and I appreciate that about you, because a lot of these other people, it's like me. I feel like I have like my niche. And I need to expand and talk more just general football, but you do a great job of, just covering overall, what the Bengals have going on, whether it's cap, whether it's roster, whether it's really just breaking down plays and seeing what's going on. I just feel like you have a great, overall mind for the game. And I love that about you, man.
I appreciate that, dude. Yeah. I mean, growing up for me, it was always football first, honestly. Like my mom, I was just talking to her earlier today. We took the kids out, and she was talking to me because I was telling her I was concerned about my youngest brother, how he plays video games so much. And she was like, you played Madden so much growing up. If you could, you would just play Madden all summer long and not go outside. Like if I would have let you, you would have done that. And I was like, that's because I love football. It's not because I'm
just learning. I'm just learning. Yeah. It wasn't a video game thing. I was just learning. I was watching the film, Mom. You don't get it.
Exactly. I was looking at defenses and how they break down, and I was looking at which areas of the field would be open. It was a beautiful thing, Mom. This was going to prepare me for later on in life.
You don't understand.
I want to say who day again to the I want to say who day again to the chat, man. Alex Wallace, once again, Jay Lou, thanks for joining us. Reds Daily 4, Justice Toll, all you guys, appreciate you for being here tonight. Parker, you want to say anything to the chat?
I just appreciate all the support, man. The fact that like people are in here and listening to us just talk about this game, and we're gonna watch this. We're gonna watch us get one in the win column and go 1-1-1 this preseason. I'm just glad we're all here to experience it together. To be honest, thank you
Oh,
guys for being here.
Parker!
That's
Raymond
that.
Johnson the third with a sack, baby. Let's freaking go. Come on.
That's the man.
That was
That's the man.
awesome.
What
Dude,
a move.
Three games in a row for Raymond Johnson the third, Parker. I mean, God, that dude is
let's
so
not forget. Let's not forget who else got a sack this evening. Let's not forget who else got a sack this evening. Game on.
Owen Carney.
Your man in the 9-0.
Yeah, Owen Carney.
We need to wrap up this drive, bro.
We got 3 minutes to go, Parker, here. 1st and 10, 21-19. Reed Sinnett in the game. Just a big touchdown on the last drive. Can he end it here? Maybe get a field goal to win? Casey's plus 4.5 is looking very nice right now. Cannot wait.
Casey's feeling good right now. Casey's.
Let's see. Who we got in at the offensive line right now. Are you excited about anybody that's in there?
Yeah. So that's what I was thinking about earlier. I mean, they're rocking Kirkland at right tackle right now, which honestly I haven't hated so far. He looks solid. I'm trying to see if he's still in there. I'm watching on the small. Yeah. So we got Ben Brown and Kirkland on the right side. Got Gilliam at center. You got Adeniji still rocking at tackle, and then Hill is still battling out there for a spot, man. Hill is still trying to work his way in.
On the face, I mean, the face mask that ended the second drive for me was a deal breaker, dude. I'm done with Trey Hill and his cement-looking feet, and trying to get off the block and trying to pull and all that. It's just it's not there for me, bro. I gotta move on from Trey, and I gotta move towards a Ben Brown, a Max Sharping, a Cordell Volson if I'm looking at a backup center. What do you think?
I feel like they have. I just feel like they have some good options at that position, where Trey Hill has not shown any flashes of really anything overall this preseason. And that's something that's I needed to see at least something out of him, and I just haven't.
All right, first down, Tanner Hudson. Here we go.
Did you get ahead of me, or are you that far behind me?
2 minutes to go, fourth quarter. 1st and 10, Cincinnati.
I'm winding down 3rd and 8, coming down to the 2 minute.
Yeah. Sorry, man. I'm ruining it for you.
Man, you were behind me like 5 minutes ago. What happened?
What
is going on?
I sped up. I got the powers over here in Cincinnati. I can make time move forward so I can see what happens. It's a beautiful thing. All right, so tell me, what have you seen so far? Offensive line. I saw your tweet earlier. Not Gunter. Sorry. You shouted out Smith, Kirkland, and Sharping. Right. What is it about those three guys that did it for you? And why not Carmen? Why not some of these other cats? What are you seeing out there?
What I saw, especially in the first half, they were running the ball behind Kirkland and Sharping a lot on the inside. And even, Kirkland started out on the right side, and then in the second quarter, they flipped the right tackle, right guard, and left tackle, left guard. They just flip-flopped them. And, in the second quarter, they were running, inside to the left. And Kirkland was getting great movement. He was getting up on linebackers. We all know how much I love seeing these O-linemen get up on linebackers. And he just, like I said, he's been steady through week 1 and 2, and now he's looked good. He's looked strong. He's looked long. Like he's looked good out there. And then Sharping just doing. I needed more of a bounce back from him this week. I talked about that in my All Bengals article, and I think I'm seeing it from him. He looks good. He looks strong. He had that penalty at the end of the first half. It wasn't a big thing, and I've been very impressed by the two of them.
Wow. That's awesome. So, we're going to get into it a little bit later on what you think on the offensive line, how you think it's going to play out. But it sounds like it's looking fairly promising for some of those interior guys, maybe even Kirkland, a surprise guy that we didn't see potentially, making the roster or, being that practice squad guy. I mean,
yeah, I think he's making a great push. He's really trying to get something going this final week here. I love to see it, honestly, especially, I mean, he came out kind of slow week 1, and there was a lot of, he was kind of like, after that first week, it was like, man, he's really just looking like a practice squad guy. And I feel like, this game and last week, he's shown a lot of good stuff. And I'm honestly excited that we have a good battle going here at the on the interior line, because at the beginning of the preseason, that was one of the big question marks, is like, well, we have this super deep tackle room, but then what's going on inside? And I feel like some of these guys have really started to pop.
So not seeing Cody Ford tonight, right? I don't think that I saw him earlier.
Is he still out with the concussion?
Oh, okay. That could be it. I was going to say, did he solidify himself on the roster already, you think? I mean, he played guard really well in that week 1. I felt like the right guard position, but, when they threw him at tackle, I wasn't so sure. I didn't think he had such a great game there. So
yeah, I wasn't excited about him at tackle. I think he showed like, I don't think he's got a great ceiling, but he's a pretty solid floor. He's got a pretty solid floor as a player, and I wouldn't be opposed if they kept him, just because having that veteran presence. He's got experience playing, and he didn't look awful. I mean, I'm kind of more excited for these other guys, but I think, making the right business decision, trying to stash some of these younger guys, getting a guy like Ford out there with a decent floor that can step in, and when he's surrounded by better talent. I don't know. I feel good about him. I haven't heard like any. I still haven't seen that he's been out. I only heard like people talking about it. So it's weird that that's been a little quieter. Maybe I'm just missing it, but yeah.
Okay, here we go. Oh man.
Hey, relax. Relax.
What down are you on? What down are you on? Oh, you're at a commercial.
I just got back from commercial.
Oh, hey.
We're struggling over here.
Like the chat, like the show, subscribe to the page if you aren't yet. It's a beautiful night. We're happy to have you all out there. Evan, you're back. And he said like the stream. Make sure you guys like the stream. Thanks for joining us, Evan. Jerry, good to see you. Okay. 3rd and 15. Big throw. That's tough. That's tough. 145 to go, Parker. Can't really punt it away. 4th and 15.
We gotta go, right?
Read the net. Yeah, we got to go for it. We got to go for it right here.
See Gilliam out there. I've seen it. I wish the room wasn't so deep, because he hasn't looked too bad out there, but it's just the center room is so deep right now.
See, we got looks like we got Malachi Carter out there. We got Hudson.
Go, Sinnott.
Come on, Sinnott. What do we got? He drops back. He throws. Right side. Oh, double coverage. What are we thinking, man? I mean, that is just a straight up, hey, make a play for me. I've got full confidence in my receiver, but didn't work out, man. Didn't work out. Looks like a deep post right there. Sinnott puts it on him. I mean, it's right there. You got to come down with it, but good pass breakup too by the corner. Ah, man.
I'll let you know my thoughts after I watch the play here.
Say again.
I'll let you know my thoughts after I watch the play right here. One second. Oh wow, he can't make. Yeah, we had did he have someone open there in the middle though?
I think so.
Someone looked like someone came free on the backside of that.
He was focused on that second read right there. He wasn't going to come off of that guy. Man. All right. Let's see. Can we get some run defense? We need some run defense right here. Second down.
They have been porous up front.
It's just we got to.
Ryan Jensen's out for the year. I can't find the injury. I've been trying to look for those that care. He's out for another. He got hurt last year, man.
He got hurt last year too.
Yeah.
And prayers to Ryan Jensen to get back, man, because that's really tough when you go out 1 year. I think was it ACL last year and this
Yeah, it was
year?
ACL last year, and I wonder if he just tore it again. That'd be
That's
terrible.
tough.
There we
Hard to come
go.
back from that too. 2 years in a
Oh,
row.
maybe not.
I think you're ahead of me by just a tad.
That was first down. I got a minute 34 left.
Oh yeah, no, we're on second down right now. They're about to hike the ball. Here we go. Hiking the ball. Patterson.
I'm watching replay still. Jake Fromm, offensive player of the game, apparently. Dude.
Yeah,
I don't know
Casey
who
is
this
not
guy is,
looking
but
good.
Jermaine tore us up, bro.
If your name is Casey McAllister, you want this game to end, and you want it to end right now because you are plus 4.5. We are down by 2, and we just gave up a big run. Big 1st and 10 right now. I think they are in the red zone at this point. You should be sweating, Casey.
Sweat it out, Casey. Sweat it out.
Minute 28 to go, and the Bengals did call a timeout, Casey. So that does mean that they are trying to win the game tonight.
And did anyone else watch that run break the first down line on the screen? That was kind of fun. Ran it so hard he broke the first down marker. My yellow line started moving all over the place.
There you go. Patterson again. Stopped him. Timeout. Oh, maybe not. They're not going to call a timeout here. Interesting strategy by the Bengals, not calling a timeout on first or on second down, letting the clock tick. Actually, that's the right strategy if you think about it, because if they get them down right here, call timeout, 3rd and long.
Save them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm 1st and 10. You're way ahead of me now, but it's like listening to it on the radio and then watching replays. So I kind of enjoy this.
Let me just say this. I think that there are times where you're ahead of me, and then there's times where I'm ahead of you.
Doing this back and forth. I don't know how this happens.
I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it. But it's 3rd down now, 31 seconds to go. Oh, it does look like we're not calling a timeout. It looks like the Bengals, Casey, sweat no longer. It is over, in my opinion, unless they run the other play.
We're sweating out the plus 4.
Zach Taylor is coming on the field. Casey can feel good right now, buddy. Let's
catch
go,
it,
Casey.
Baby. Catch it.
Congratulations, buddy. I don't know how much money you laid on that, but that was a big sweater at the end of the game. You know, that's like an ESPN
a really
moment.
Good line, actually.
Hey, incredible line. Whatever Vegas is doing, keep doing it, because that one was a heart stopper right there. If we would have called timeout right there, they would have thrown it, and who knows what would have gone down. Yes, sir. Let's go. Let's go, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us. What up? What up? I love that song, man. What's going on, Parker Blake? Thank you for joining us for the first time, brother.
Dude, I am just glad that I am finally here. Like I said, I can't stand watching you and Eric get all the love out here. I got to get some appreciation going in the Chatterbox world, brother. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad that Casey Cash is plus 4. Let's talk some Bengals, game on. Let's talk some Bengals preseason football.
Let's do it. Shout out to the chat out there, everybody, in the chat. Thank you for coming tonight. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already subscribed to the Chatterbox Sports YouTube channel. Let's get right into it, man. Let's talk about this game. So, very first drive. Well, let's start with this. Went through all 4 downs on the very first drive. Did Washington? Brissett actually incomplete pass to end that drive. Then we go to the second drive here. Jake Browning ended up scoring a touchdown pass to Andre Yoshivash.
Great drive.
That one was great. Put us up 7-0. They answered after that in the second quarter with 9:12 to go with a 39-yard touchdown pass to Mitchell Tinsley to tie it up at 7. We answered back with a 58-yard field goal from Evan McPherson, making
Plenty
it
of room. Plenty of
making
room.
it 10-7. Plenty of room. Plenty of room. Then once again, Jake Fromm with his Fromm magic on the 1-yard line. An easy pass to Bryson Tremaine. And, Jordan Battle just couldn't get there in time. That was an easy one for him. Made it 14-10. McPherson with a 35-yard field goal after a Simeon long drive. Made it 14-13. Then a 7-yard touchdown pass by Fromm late in the fourth quarter with 10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, made it 21-13. And we finally wrap it up on our side with a 34-yard touchdown pass from Sinet to Shedrick Jackson, guy that has surprised thus far, and missed the 2-point conversion, which you contest was defensive holding.
It was.
And
it was.
That wrapped up our game, man. We didn't get the ball back after. Well, we did get ball back after that, but a quick, 4 and out, I think. And here we are, losers once again. 0-3 in the preseason. Your take on this game?
0-2-1. 0-2-1. Don't forget that amazing tie that we got to experience last week.
Oh yeah, that's right. The tie. Can't forget the tie, right?
Can't forget the tie. Can't get the tie. Man,
okay,
that was a fun game to watch, though.
That was a fun game to watch. Tell me what you initially thought about watching this game tonight. What were you looking for?
Yeah, no, obviously I got to start. I was looking to see who they were going to play, what kind of like the snap distribution was going to be, not only on the offensive line, but how much was Osai going to get work in? How much were they going to let Yoshivash play the whole game? Were they going to limit him? You just kind of see some of these fringe guys. What was the split going to be for Brown and Evans? Kind of some of these other just position battles that we were looking at. Who was going to get the majority of the reps? Are they going to limit any guys that were surprising? And honestly, I felt good about who they rolled out there. I think the guys that we expected to do well looked good for the most part. I mean, defense was a little questionable, but I think initial thoughts were the offense seemed to go as the quarterbacks went, as it typically does, but they kind of got away from the run game there in the second half. And, we saw how that went. We saw some Sinet, but I think overall I think my biggest concern was this defensive line looked really porous against the run. They were breaking off some big ones, and even they're late into the game, they were just kind of running all over us. So
I think the biggest one for me had to be quarterback 2 discussion, man. I mean, I would need one of these guys to step up with the trade that Dallas made for Trey Lance, and then for the 49ers to keep Brandon Allen, which is what I think was their intention initially once they traded away Trey Lance to keep them as quarterback 3. It kind of puts us in a bind. A lot of people thought that he might be coming back, but now that he's officially going to stay with San Francisco, we needed one of these quarterbacks to step up and really show that they are quarterback 2. I feel like Jake Browning, only 2 drives tonight. The first one, a touchdown drive, 7-yard pass to Yoshivash. And the second one stalled out, but great play, I felt like, to Tanner Hudson to get the first down. What could have been another touchdown drive negated by a Trey Hill penalty, a face mask penalty. So felt like he played a quarterback 2 tonight, whereas Trevor Siemian, we saw similar stuff, man. Like he was on in some parts and other parts he was off. He had the double coverage pass in the red zone of all places to throw that football, trying to go over the DB to his wide receiver underneath the safety. Just an impossible throw to make. And, of course, the DB makes the play, intercepts the ball. And, look, I think Siemian is an okay quarterback when he's on, man. I think that he's an okay quarterback and he could get the job done for another team. I just don't think that he is the quarterback 2 with Cincinnati. What do you think?
Yeah, I just haven't seen it from Simeon, and like I talked about this a little bit last week, and it's just I like what Browning brings as far as creating plays and just kind of making stuff happen. You can watch him go through his progression, and even if he feels a little sped up, he's able to get out of that pocket, make some stuff happen, and really just he can make it happen, man. And that's where like we talked about that first drive of the game looked great, honestly, from him. He looked very decisive. They were moving pretty well. They seemed to be clicking, and then that second drive even was going very well until we got that big play brought back by the face mask from Trey, which was flagrant. But I feel really good about Browning. I felt good coming into this game, and this really just locked it in for me. That's why when I saw him come out pretty early in the game, I was like, well, there it is. That's the ball game, folks. Jake Browning is your quarterback too, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, so I think we both agree Jake Browning solidifies himself tonight as quarterback 2, and the coaches kind of give you that feeling as well, taking him out of the game, bringing Simeon in for second, third quarter, and then bringing Sinet in for that fourth quarter, camp body quarter. Let's move on to the offensive line, man. I mean, tell us specifically what were you looking for in the offensive line tonight, and what did you see out of them that gives you hope?
Yeah, no, I'm like I said earlier, I really wanted to see who went out there, and it was interesting to see how I think they're really trying to get Carmen to fill this swing tackle role. They were flip flopping him early in the game, him and Kirkland. I think Kirkland really shined this game. I think he looked really good at both guard spots. They even played him at right tackle a little bit later in the game. I thought he held up pretty well out there. I know he had the holding call, but I think overall he looked strong. He was moving just fine. I was very impressed by Kirkland this game, and then Max Sharping I think really just locked in his role. He had a pretty solid game, and then Hill killed a drive. Let alone I didn't think he looked great overall, and as far as the Jackson Carman debate goes, I know it's what everyone loves to hear me talk about because I haven't talked about it at all this offseason. But I need to see him do more with his body, with his feet, and getting in front of defenders. He likes pushing guys around the pocket, whether it's he's the backside on run plays or even in pass protection. I mean, there was a play where he just shoved the DN into Jake Browning. I mean, could Browning have stepped up? Probably, but still, you shouldn't stay with your guy. Don't just be tossing him around, letting him make plays out there. Stay with your guy. And then later in the game, we saw Ben Brown come in and get some solid reps. I mean, I felt good with the guys that I wanted to see something out of because those are my big 3 that I was watching for was what was Ben Brown going to do? What was Kirkland going to do? And was Max Sharping going to bounce back from what I saw as kind of a drop in execution last week? And I think he did really well.
Eric,
and I don't want to leave out. Sorry to cut you off. I don't want to leave out. Deontay Smith looked solid till he went out with the injury.
Oh, God, man. It's just the same old story with Deontay. But let me first talk about Carmen because we talked about this last week, me and Eric. And with Carmen, it looks like he engages initially and then he disengages. And you're like, come on, man. If you could just stay after it. Don't quit on the play. Don't stop, engaging in your guy. Keep your anchor, keep your leverage. And he doesn't do it, man. Like time and time again, I'm like, how did that dude just get right past Carmen that quick, man? I mean, that Carmen is physical, but he doesn't show it enough for me. There's too much inconsistency there, man. And just depending upon what happens with Deontay, because I feel like Deontay actually played really well tonight. I feel like that first team especially played really well. As you noted before, Chase Brown with a decent night, I feel like. The run game absolutely got going in that first quarter with Browning being able to drive them down the field. And I think that's predicated mostly on, those interior guards opening a little bit of holes on the inside. But also I feel like Deontay on that right side was doing really, really well. I have seen great things so far from Kirkland. I have seen great things. So like, for me with Kirkland, like the PFF grades, they show it, and then you turn on the tape, it's there. I think a lot of people got scared last week. They maybe saw a play where it was a design screen and Kirkland got blown up at the point of attack. But he's been decent to solid majority of these games. So I hope there's something there with us in Kirkland, if it's practice squad or, if we're going with him as one of our offensive linemen. And then, like you said, Ben Brown, I just think there's consistency there. The guys that I'm not excited about Akeem Adeniji. Akeem Adeniji doesn't do anything for me. I'm time. It's time to move on from Hakeem. Trey Hill, I'm so glad they started to give Volson reps. They started to give Sharping reps at center, and Ben Brown has been doing decent enough that maybe we could move along from Trey Hill. So that's what I'm seeing out of the offensive line. Hopefully we progress, into the season and some of these guys get solidified. But hey, I want to let everybody know that we got Kyle Caskey joining us live here.
Welcome,
Caskey,
brother. Welcome.
Thank you for being here tonight, brother. What did you see out there tonight, Kyle?
You guys are hitting it on the head about the O-line. The cool thing about the O-line right now is it's not only that they have some depth to them, that they actually have choices to make. And in the past, even when I was there through 2018, there was a point where we didn't have choices to make. We had to take who we could get. And, it's good to have those choices. So I think what you're seeing is, the building of depth, the use of the draft over the years. They took those lean years after I left, and I was out in 2018, 2019, and 20. Weren't good years for the Bengals, but man, they hit on the draft and they got some guys, and then they started to build from there. And the fact that they're actually having guys that they can build around is it's a testament to what they're doing in the sky. We were doing the same thing. Don't get me wrong, but when they had those lean years and they had those top picks, they hit on them and they were able to really jump on those. And obviously, when you get you get Burrow and Chase and all those guys in there, people want to come play with them, so it helps in free agency.
God, yeah, I'd love to. Go ahead, Parker. My bad.
Yeah, no, you're good. No, I just wanted to, real quick, just I really was hoping to see, some action from Chase Brown. I feel like last week he kind of got stifled because the O-line didn't look great in the run game, and I was really hoping he was able to explode this week and show us what he could do, get some better running lanes, get some work in protection and in the receiving game. Like, what did you see anything big out of him that excited you or maybe even turned you off to him? Just what did you see out of him today?
I thought he was the same guy I saw last week. The thing is, not every game's going to be the same. Not every game's going to be perfect. Not every game's going to be an explosive game, especially from a guy like you said. Who's blocking for him today? The interior line blocked well. It's one of those things where these last preseason games, they're not games where you've got the best players out there. So. A guy like Chase Brown, who's one of your better players, and probably will be one of your better players, he's running behind some guys that are fighting for the team. So for him to still come out and actually have a good game, I thought that was impressive for me because he showed out early on. I think the first or second play of the game, he had a big run, and he did some good things. And towards the end of the game, what was kind of fun to watch was they were competitive towards the end of the game. They didn't give in. I think everybody was talking about Washington's game with Baltimore last week, and I think sorry if you hear the sirens in the background. I live in Baton Rouge, so that's kind of what happens around here. But they had they fought to the end. They went for two. They didn't get it. Actually, a 2-point conversion was a cool play because it was actually kind of a rub route play that they were trying to throw, and the Washington guy really played it well, but. They fought to the end, and I think that's good. That they've got a competitive spirit about the team, and it goes all the way through the team. It's not just the starters. And you got to remember, y'all haven't even seen the real players on this team yet.
Yep.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that I think when we looked at the offseason for the Bengals was the improvement in the run game of the offensive line pertaining to explosive runs. And when we watched your show, how Frank Pollock uses those pulling guards, how he uses his tackles to move in space, getting to the second level. What do you see out of this offensive line thus far that gives you hope that those explosive runs will come for Cincinnati this season?
Well, number one, you haven't seen like Joe Mixon behind them yet, and I think that's a big thing. Those guys are working every day in practice to get the timing with Joe and those guys to actually get the explosive runs going. Now, the guys you're seeing now, they get those same reps, but when your starter is getting those reps behind those linemen, those are the ones that you're really looking for, to take off. Now, I do believe they've got a much more athletic line than they've had in a while, and it's not just a big guy here, a big guy there, or whatever it is. It's like they actually have some athletic guys that can move around that can still run duo. If y'all know what I'm talking about, just like straight ahead double teams the whole time, and that's what that's what Pollock is. Pollock's a duo guy. Pollock's a mauler, and that's what I liked about working with him for that year is. Like we were all about mauling the defense. We weren't about trying to finesse the defense, and we had our trick. I don't call them trick plays, but we had our curveball plays that we'd throw to them. But for the most part, we were coming straight ahead at them, and that's what's good about it. And with Burrow throwing behind them, it's hard to just say we're going to play run, and they should be able to run the ball with Burrow and that whole crew being able to throw the ball. They should be able to just. I'm assuming they're going to get cover 2, cover 6. They're going to get some too high stuff all year. If teams want to play them cover 3 or man, then good for them. God bless them. So.
Hats off to you.
No doubt.
All right,
hey,
Kyle,
pick your poison.
Kyle, thank you so much for that soliloquy on the offensive line and what you saw and what we're going to see this year. I'm super excited. I know our fans are super excited to see what this offensive line is going to bring. But let's switch topics to Myles Murphy, a guy we had high hopes for coming in the draft, number 26 overall. The coaching staff felt like he was one of those guys they felt like wasn't going to be there at that pick. There were some things to work on in terms of the pass rush ability, but the speed, the size, the measurables, all of those are there. What have you seen out of Myles so far that gives you hope? And then what are you seeing that you feel like he needs to improve?
Number one, you got to remember too, like these defensive players that. It takes them a minute. I mean, we've drafted Carlos Dunlap high. We drafted Geno Atkins high. And it just takes them a minute to get going. And it'll be fun to see, these guys that can get some playing time. And you can play against your own team, but when you play against somebody else, that's when you start to really kind of take off. And it takes them a minute. But to be honest with you, I haven't watched a whole lot, like just of him, but I do know that based on experience of watching other D linemen that have come around, and we had Carl Lawson for a long time, and I mean, he's one of those guys that nobody kind of really knew him, and then all of a sudden he got some playing time, and he just took off. And now I know he got hurt and everything that happened with him, but you got to understand like that those guys just need playing time, and I think you're going to see those guys take off over time. It's not going to be like one of those things that's a gradual. It's just going to show up. It's going to just show up one week, and you're going to go, all right, he's here.
Parker, what do you think about Myles? Sorry.
Well, I want to know, Kyle, because like have your traits that you're looking at with these draft prospects when they come out, and I really there's been some things in Murphy's game that I would have liked to see him kind of develop through this preseason. What are some traits we should be watching for to really see, like if he has that potential, if he can really develop into that? Because I know it takes time. You got to develop, and even though it was a high pick, he's still a rookie. Still got to give him time to develop. But what should we be watching for when he's out there to kind of like say, oh, this guy could really have that potential?
Well, let me ask you this: what are you not seeing so far?
Yeah, my biggest thing for him, I really want to see him expand his toolbox. I don't think he uses his hands very well. I think he can be explosive off the ball. He can get into some guys' chests. He can really work that leverage. But there's times where he's working that bull rush, and he gets great extension, but I don't really see him do anything else off of it. He just kind of drives these
So,
tackles back, and I think with his frame, obviously he'll put on weight in the NFL. He'll get stronger. I'm not really worried about those things this early. But I want to see him be more toolsy. That's kind of the thing that I'm missing from him. I want to see him work more with his hands and really trying to work some of these tackles.
so when you're looking at D linemen, especially quicker, longer DNs, you're talking about guys who have the physical talent, and in college they're just beating up on people.
Mhm.
They're just better than them, and that's just what they do. When they get to the NFL, then they realize, well, you're playing against the best of the best, and
Yeah,
you got Orlando Brown across from you in practice every day, and it's one of those things where they have to learn how to use their body, and sometimes some of these guys haven't grown into their body yet.
mhm.
They haven't literally grown in. They have not matured into their body yet. And think about this: if you were, how old is he right now? 20, 21? Like it can't be very
23.
old,
I'm
right?
23 right now.
No,
Yeah,
how old is he? How old is Miles
I
Murphy?
think he's oh, he was younger. He's 21, right?
He's like 21. So think about this: like
He's a
he's a
kid.
21-year-old kid. He's a kid. Like he is a kid. I'm not gonna give away my age, but I'm in my 40s. But they, you just kind of like you learn your body after a certain amount of time, and these guys when they keep growing and they keep growing and they keep growing, it takes them a minute, and it's like I said, it just happens one day. They feel it one day. There's a it's like when you do something for the first time, and physically you do something, you're like, oh, I I felt what that's supposed to feel
I
like. Now
felt
I can
different.
do that
Yeah.
over and over and over again. It's like muscle memory, and that's when they finally learn that. They'll learn it. Now he needs, as a rookie, to go talk to these offensive linemen because there's some good ones on the team, and he should go talk to those guys and say, okay, what's hard for you? What can I do? And they should, like, in one on one, say, all right, hey, listen, I'm working this move on you. I want you to stop it, and have the lineman tell them, now this is what you can do better. This is where you can move forward, and that would build his toolbox because a lot of times these guys, they get so competitive in practice that they don't try to take advice from the other side. And
Mhm.
like, as I know, as a coach, like I ask defensive coaches all the time, how do you stop this? How do you line up to this? What are you going to do if this happens? And I want to know because I want to know what they're thinking. I don't want to just go in and say, oh, I got the answers or whatever the case is, and try to outdo them. I want to know what they're thinking. So, uh, it's like what Sun Tzu said. Keep your enemies close. I don't know if that's the exact quote, but it's like
Yeah.
learn what they're trying to do. Learn what they're doing, so you can defeat it. And when
Yeah,
he's
I'd love to
when
see
he's
him.
yeah,
Yeah,
go
no,
ahead.
I'd love to see him take kind of like a Zach Carter jump, like from a physical perspective, and then, like you said, like I really hope that they are working together. I mean, I know he's got great guys to work with, like Trey Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard out there, but I think it's a great point that you bring up where he should be talking with guys like Orlando Brown, guys like Lyle Collins who are in the room, where we can get some of this good insight on what he can start working on, what he needs to improve on as a rookie, and if he can get that
Yeah.
physical side tuned up, like you said, kind of mature into the player that he's going to be and really just work his technique. I mean, Marion Hobby's a great coach. I think that's going to help him tremendously. And then, with, like you said, just that competition that he's going to see every day. I think he's got that potential there. I think he's developing a little slower, but I don't think he's going to be a huge contributor early on. I think he's a great guy that they're going to be able to let develop a little slower so he can really become a force once they need him.
Well,
Thanks,
here's the
coach.
thing: but you don't need him necessarily to be a
Yeah.
contributor right away. You also have you got, like you just mentioned, Sam Hubbard and Trey Henderson. Like,
Mhm.
you got guys out there already now. Let him come in and be the curveball, and that's
100%.
where you can really do it. Now, I will make a point, and I got to roll after this, but um, so when I was a running back coach in, I don't know, I was like 16, or I guess it was 17. It was 17 because it was Mixon's rookie year. Um, I remember Vontez Burfict, like, at one point, coming up and being like, he needs to do certain things in pass pro and different things. And he did this to Jeremy Hill and he did this to Gio. And I remember Vontaze Burfict, of all people, was like, you gotta teach them certain areas, or he kept talking to me like, you gotta teach them. And I said, well, why don't you go teach them? I mean, if you're the one sitting here telling me, like, you go tell them what they need to do to stop you, because apparently you think you can beat them every time. So why don't you go teach them how to stop you so that we can be better on offense? And plus it allows you guys you can work your moves or work whatever it is. Cause like, believe it or not, Vontaze, I don't remember Vontaze being like a whole, like we blitzed him, but he wasn't like he was just the single blitzer we had, but he was a pretty damn good blitzer. And he was also like, Vontaze. So it was good to have his like energy coming at the backs when we're trying to teach him how to pass pro. And that was good to have a guy on defense come across to the offense and say, hey man, like we can help you over here. And I also had that happen in Detroit. We had I coached Adrian Peterson for a year, which was kind of cool. But like at the same time, when you're coaching Adrian Peterson, you kind of you don't really tell him how to play football. You tell him which direction to go and what the play is. And when he would go and talk to the running backs, he had a lot of good advice. And then we had Jamie Collins on defense. That's what was with the Patriots and everything. And then Matt Patricia was the head coach, so he brought him to Detroit. And I remember those two would, it would be a lot of trash talking, one-on-one pass rush and stuff. And Jamie was a big time bull rusher, but there were times he'd come in and like DeAndre Swift was a rookie. And he just beat up on DeAndre, but then he would teach him what he did wrong and clean it up. So it was pretty cool to see the interaction between the two sides of the ball. So I know I went off on a tangent there. It has nothing to do with anything other than I was telling Myles Murphy needs to talk to the O-line. So
I love it.
Anyway.
Coach
Caskey. Yes.
Yeah, I was just going to say thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for giving us words of wisdom and things to think about as we're evaluating some of these players, as we have high hopes for some of these players and what we see out of this offensive line. Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, listen, we're all in this thing together on Chatterbox. So Tuesday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, Chatterbox Clicker. I'm going over the previous game. Looking forward to the next game. I think this week we're doing more of a roster evaluation of who makes the team, and it's just it's a cool thing we're doing here on Chatterbox. I'm excited for you guys too, because this is a cool show.
I appreciate it. And your episode last week was awesome. We're excited to see what you roll out this week, man.
All right, guys. Well, y'all have a good night.
You too. Appreciate you. All right, Coach Caskey.
Well, I need your thoughts on Myles Murphy game on. I need your thoughts. What'd you see?
Yeah, man. Like? I just think that people think that this guy is, supposed to be like the full package in year one, and he's not. People need to understand that Myles Murphy is not the full package in year one. What is Myles Murphy in year one? Myles Murphy is speed. He has length. The guy can run defend really well. We've seen it multiple times within the preseason. He's got to work on his pass rush. What does that mean to me? That means, I've said this before, on broken plays, I think the guy's going to eat. I think on plays where the quarterback's getting the ball out of his hands within 2.5 to 3 seconds, I don't think he's going to hit the quarterback too many times because this is his first year. So we got to give this guy a little bit of a break and a leeway and understand that I think this plan is a 3-year plan to get the full Myles Murphy out of him, right? And joining again with Marion Hobby, his old defensive line coach at Clemson, I think that's a match made in heaven right there to start. I think that we just got to give the kid a break and see what comes of it this year, because I do think like he'll be productive in stunts. I do think like on the outside when he has to set the edge. I think on rollouts for quarterbacks when he's rushing the passer. Like I think he's going to be effective there. It's just on a step back drop or a shotgun set where the quarterback has to get the ball out of his hands fairly quickly, Myles Murphy probably won't get to the quarterback. And that's something that our fans just need to understand, that that's the way it's going to be this year, but with the understanding that he will build on that as the years go by.
Yeah, no, and I think that's what we have to start getting used to, because when you're having these like mid round, early round picks in the draft, especially in that first round, you're getting these guys that can come in and they can really start doing things for you early. But now when we're picking at the back end of some of these rounds, we're not going to get those instant contributors, and that's where it's like you have to understand, like you said, where he's not going to be a huge impact guy this year. I mean, you already have Hendrickson, you have Hubbard, Osai's been looking good. And like we've talked about, I think the biggest thing with Myles Murphy is look how young the Bengals depth is on the D-line. Like they have some really solid veteran guys in there, but the youth they're able to bring in, you're really just trying to bring in some of these guys with great high ceiling traits, right? That high potential. You want those high potential guys that you can kind of gamble on right now because you have some solid starters in there. You have some good guys you can rotate in. Why not take a shot on a guy like Murphy where you're like, hey, we have a great D-line coach. We have some great D-linemen. We have some great O-linemen, like Coach Caskey said. Like we have some great pieces to let this guy develop and kind of take his time, learn how the NFL works. I'm sure I hope he sees some snaps this year just to pull some snaps off some of those starters. And I feel like we're going to see him really step into it. I mean, think about like where Zach Carter was a year ago today and where he's come to today. I mean, I think we've already seen some of these guys start to pan out and really figure out what they want to be and what they can be in the NFL. And that's where I think he's going to be great, man. I'm really excited to see what he turns into.
Yeah, 100%. And I just think that our fans, once again, they just need to understand this guy is speed. This guy does set the edge well. This guy does run defend well. He puts himself in scenarios where he could potentially be a defender that could line up on a running back in a running back flat route or wheel route or something of that nature. But Myles Murphy, in terms of rushing the passer, has to work on a lot of things. So we should expect year 2, year 3. I think year 2 he's going to come back and look like the full package. And the question is, will he be developing, like in the offseason, will he be working on a lot of these moves? I think so. Parker, let's move on to injuries, man. So far this game, we had two injuries of note. I want you to speak about the Deontay Smith one, man. What did you see out there?
Yeah, for sure. And like I said to you earlier today, I missed the injury, and then my broadcast didn't really cover it for whatever reason. But I did learn it sounds like it was a shoulder for Deontay Smith, and it's just kind of just another year of him not being able to stay healthy, where I really liked his preseason. I thought he was putting some really good stuff out there on film, and I was really excited about his potential and maybe even beating out Adeniji for that, that swing tackle role. I thought he looked good on both sides, and then he goes down again. And like I said, I haven't heard anything official yet. I need to look it up, but I really hope he can get back quick because I think he has a great shot of earning that spot. But he's just like in years past, man, he's got to find a way to stay healthy. And I know it's just the NFL. You're playing against these bigger, stronger, faster guys. You're really putting yourself out there. But, I mean, health's a big thing. And availability, especially on the O-line, availability is everything.
Seems like every time Deontay Smith has gotten his shot and we thought that we were going to get something spectacular, tremendous, or even just a slight, just something, right? He's been hurt. Mm-hmm. And that, like you said, the best ability for him is going to be availability. And so far, we just haven't seen it. We need a healthy Deontay Smith in order to rely on him if his number is called. And so that's the question. Do we go with a Carman, who we know is solid in terms of health? He's going to be fine, but he's inconsistent on the field? Or do we go with a Deontay who it's one thing after another with him? It's the knee, it's the shoulder, it's the elbow, it's all these things. And can he be relied on if his number's called?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's where I
And
feel like that's why they've liked Adeniji, because I mean they know what they're gonna get out of him. They know he can be pretty healthy. They like him in those jumbo sets, and that's where I mean if Smith's out for an extended amount of time, and we're back to Adeniji and Carmen, and it's really like I thought we had this guy that really popped and really was gonna shake up the room, and now we're just kind of back to where we were end of last season when we were going through injuries. So I mean that's yeah, we'll see what happens, but it's upsetting, man. I got all excited for him all over again, and here we are back in the same spot.
really quickly, Parker, I want to shout out the chat tonight. Thank you all for coming. 55 of you super active in the chat right now. Shout out to Timbo Slice, 85, Taryn Terrell, Mark Fetters. We got Jason Love in there, Ken Hammock, Greg Luther. Hooday, y'all. Thanks for being with us tonight and talking Bengals. The other injury, Parker, that transpired tonight was a big one if anything comes of it. I have been told that Joseph Osai walked off the field with his shoe off. He walked off the field, though, but then was taken to the locker room thereafter. They're calling it an ankle injury. Don't know the severity. What do you think about this this injury?
Yeah, no, I've seen a lot of frustration just with why was Osai out there? We already know what he is. We know we want him to contribute this year. Why are we risking him in the most cursed field in the NFL? And that's where that's another injury where it's just like, man, like we almost made it through the preseason, we're looking really good, and then we have these just two weird injuries to players that really showed a lot of potential and that we were excited for coming into this year. Now it's like, oh well, now those are question marks where we have evaluations coming up. I mean, cut days in 2-3 days, something like that, and now we have. I mean, obviously Osai wasn't on the block, but yeah, I really hope it's a short term thing, and that's where it's good that they no longer have that fourth preseason game. Now we kind of get like a mini bye week or a bye week before the season starts to really get right, get healthy, and just get ready for that week 1 game against the Browns. And I really hope to see him back out there soon. I know he showed a lot of great things last year, and I'm just really gunning for Osai, man. I'm a big fan of Osai, and I hope to see him do some crazy things, and he can't do that from the bench without shoulder pads on. So
I just think with Osai, his very first year, the injured meniscus in the first game after 2 great sacks against Tom Brady in the early going of that game, and then out for the season. Not really a lot talked about there, just out for the season. Not really something that happens with a meniscus tear. Usually, more of an 8 to 10 week injury. Come back next year. In the playoffs, ended up having an injury that he needed surgery on in the offseason this past season. And then coming in to the preseason, once again, I think a lot of people are more questioning, hey, if you feel like this guy is a big portion of your pass rush this season, why is this man on the field in the 3rd preseason game? Like, why is this man taking snaps when it's really about the back end of your roster? This man has nothing to prove to you, the coaching staff. Maybe you want to give him live reps, but to me, it shocks me that he was even in the game to start, and that he ended up getting hurt. It shocks me that they even had him out there. I would have gone out there with Murphy and probably Gunter to start, and then switched to Carney Johnson or had a variation change there. But yeah, I just think this coaching staff they want their players to play in preseason in order to give them in-game reps, but it comes with a cost when you do it for a player that is an impact player to your overall roster.
yeah, I think it's just great points where it's just like I can appreciate them wanting to get him out there, but this is the whole conversation around like why certain people don't want the starting offense going out there especially without Joe Burrow, and why I know maybe not even getting Joe Burrow out there if he's healthy. Is like why put these guys in a position where they could get hurt when we know. I mean, even if you have questions or you want them to get a good feel for those live bullets, like you know what you're going to get out of them. You know they're going to be good contributors, and that's where this week, like the preseason week 3, man, like use that for your bubble guys. You got Gunter who like he's battling for like a spot on the practice squad right now. Like he's really trying to get out there and show something. And instead, you got a guy like Osai where he's making big plays for you in AFC Championship game earlier this year. Like why do you have a guy out there this late in the preseason where he's already coming off of injuries? He's got an injury history. He doesn't have anything to prove, man. Let guys go out there and prove something. Don't risk a guy like Osai. And that's where it gets frustrating. And it's the conversations like this where when you see people talk about, well, I'm okay with them leaving starters out of the preseason. It's for reasons like this, man, where it's just like it's just the luck of the draw where you just get unlucky sometimes.
I pray to God, Parker, that this man plays week 1 and nothing is wrong with that beautiful defensive line that I desperately wanted to see. That NASCAR package is everything that I've been thinking about this offseason. And if I do not get to see it, something bad is going to happen. So please, for the love of God, let this man play week 1. Please, God, hear me now. We need Joseph Osai week 1. We desperately, desperately need this guy. Please. Okay. Anyway. All right. Let's move on to the surprises that we saw in this third preseason game. First and foremost, Yoshi. It seems like every game we're talking about this guy, right? Andre Yosivas. I said it right that time. Andre Yosivas. Game 1 and 2 targeted 10 times, came up with 50 yards in both games. One would look like a touchdown, had the toe out, could have been 80 yards in that game. And then this third game comes out with a big touchdown to start the game on our offensive first drive. Yoshi, man, and it feels, Parker, it feels like he's wide receiver number 5. I think a lot of people thought that Charlie would be wide receiver 4 coming out of that draft. Oh, he's 24 years old. He's an older receiver. He's coming out. He's going to be this electric receiver. He's going to be better than Trenton Irwin. He's got the speed that Trenton Irwin doesn't possess. But Irwin catching everything in preseason, catching everything in practice, solidifies himself as wide receiver 4. And now Yoshi looking like wide receiver number 5. Your take on that?
Yeah, no, I got to give Greg a shout out. He's down in the chat. Congrats on winning your game beer with your hitting the Yoshi over on catches. We finally got the touchdown after getting teased with a touchdown week 1. We were so close. And I just knew one was coming. If I was still a betting man, I would have had at least one touchdown from that man in every one of these preseason games. And we finally got one. And it's just good to see. Like, it's like people just been saying he looks good out there, but like he just fits. I saw someone say that down in the chat too, where he just fits this team. He just feels good. You see him out there running around, and it's like, man, I can see him running around there on Sundays. I can see them running around there and getting some of these guys kind of a blow between plays, and just giving them a break. And maybe someone goes down. I feel like he's going to go in, and obviously it's not going to be seamless. But man, he's got some tools, man. He's got tools. He's got traits, and he just feels like a steal. How did we get him so late? How did we find this guy? It's so fun to watch. I love that, man. I'm excited to see what he can do, man. I'm excited to see what he can do.
The size, the ability, the red zone threat. I mean, even if he only plays red zone this year, like if they were to bring him in as an extra receiver in red zone, as like one of the certain sub packages, I think that would be incredible. I think people would love it, and I think that he would actually get an opportunity to shine there. So Yoshi, for sure, man. One of the big things to come out of this preseason. The other one that I think a lot of people, when we drafted this guy, they were like, oh, that's a 7th round pick. Could be a special teamer. I think we were trying to get a jump on practice squad. DJ Ivy has shown up in preseason, and a few times, he did give up some plays, but he came back and he made what I believe was a game-changing PBU at the end of preseason game 2, and he makes a PBU tonight. Dude has just been off the charts this far, way more than I could have asked for, and I absolutely want this kid over Sidney Jones. Your take on DJ Ivy?
Yeah, and I've said it before, and I already feel that I'm going to continue saying it throughout his career in stripes, man. He just finds a way to get to the ball. He's always around the ball. If you're throwing anywhere on that side of the field, he's there. He finds a way to make plays. And that's where I've talked about where, the best thing I think about this Bengals defensive backfield moving forward is that they're really just taking these shots with these high-level athletic guys. And where the best thing you can be as a defensive back is twitchy and just raw, just being a raw athlete. Because if you're able to get, you're getting these 4-3, sub 4-3 guys in the defensive backfield, and even if you're getting beat in coverage or you're missing an assignment here and there like these young guys will do, they're able to recover. They're able to get to the ball. They're able to make plays on the ball. And that's where DJ Ivy was starting to get quiet, and I feel like teams just didn't want to target him now later into the preseason. They're just like, I'm trying to put good stuff on film. I'm not going to throw that way. That's not a productive thing for me to do right now. And that's where I feel like I am excited to see what he can do. And that's like you said, I'm excited to see him make it over Sidney Jones because I just feel like he has that ceiling. He has that explosive potential where he loves finding the ball, man. And sometimes he can have a hard time tracking it. Sometimes he'll lose his assignment here and there just being a younger guy. But, man, he's shown some flashes, hasn't he?
Yeah. Back end of the defensive line, I think there's a lot of guys that stick out as surprise candidates. But I want you to give me one, Parker, because I'm just talking over here out of my surprises. I want to hear some surprises from your side. Who are some of the guys that you're like, man, I did not see that coming?
Yeah, the guy that I've been most excited in watching has been number 30 out of the backfield, man. I think Chase Brown's looks really good. I really, like I was talking about earlier, I was really disappointed last week watching where, everyone was talking about they want to see his yards per carry go up, his averages go up. And I really just think last week he really struggled because the run blocking wasn't there. I feel like, I went through and I graded the film out and overall, they didn't run block well as a group. And now this week he was finally starting to find some of those lanes. And you saw once he hit that lane and he was gone. He has that explosive potential. And I think he looks good in pass protection as long as, he's got to, I think, clean up some of his assignments here and there. But again, he's a rookie, and he's showing some great potential out there. And I'm excited, and that's where Coach Caskey said it earlier. I think he's going to be one of the better players that actually got a lot of reps in this preseason. He's got some crazy potential in the backfield, and I think he's going to be a great guy that can give Mixon a break so we can keep Mixon fresh. And I think that's a big thing that people talked about all offseason is a lot of these guys that they're bringing in now, we have very solid starters, right? I think we all feel good about this Bengals roster on the front end. And now you're bringing these guys in on the back end where we're going to bring out these starters, get them a break when they get tired, have these big plays that we're going to have this season. You got to give a guy a break, and then you give a guy a break, and the second stringer and Chase Brown's just going to freaking not skip a beat. He's going to get in there. He's going to make stuff happen still. I've been loving what I've been seeing out of him.
Parker, I would be remiss if I did not bring up Tanner Hudson, okay? And let me be the first to say I was the first one who brought up Tanner Hudson, all right? I'm not tooting my own horn here, but I did show a clip of Tanner Hudson from the prior year. I said, look, hey, this guy is actually playing long snapper too, is like an emergency long snapper. Remember how we used Wilcox last year as emergency long snapper?
They need one of those.
They like what he brings. And then I went back and I looked at the footage. Daniel Bellinger goes out last year. I think it was like an eye. He got poked in the eye. I don't know what happened with his eye. But anyway, he goes out. And Tanner Hudson comes in, 5 catches, 55 yards. Looks a little slim. He's more of a receiving tight end, a wide tight end. That's what we need. Then I see him out there and wearing number 87 as practice starts. he's filled out a little bit more. He's got another 15 or 20 pounds on him. Looks like a legitimate tight end out there with legitimate tight end weight. And then the speed has not been lost. The measurables are still there. He looks every bit of athletic. I do not want this man off of this roster. This man must be my type. I hear what people think about Mitchell, about how, maybe he's a good run blocker too, or, maybe he does the little things really well, or maybe he could play special teams. I don't care. Okay. If we lose Irv, Tanner is a great replacement. Way better than Drew Sample, in my opinion. And Sample's already made the roster. So this kid, to me, is a must. We must keep Tanner Hudson. I love everything that I've seen about the kid coming out. And tonight, another 20-yard catch. And after that, he had a 15-yarder. He had a 5-yarder there. He had a 20-yarder that was called back on the Trey Hill face mask that we can't seem to escape. But this guy, he's been every bit of what we need in this offense. What do you think, Tanner Hudson?
Yeah, no, I will admit to everybody out here, you got me on the Hudson train. I wasn't very invested in this tight end battle. I was like, man, I am not feeling good about this tight end room. I don't really know what they have in there. And then I heard this guy talking up 87, and I was like, well, I guess when we get to these preseason games, I'm going to have to see what he's all about. And, man, he's shown some good things, right? He's really good at finding space, but he's a great blocker in space. He can contribute in the run game. I mean, he's not blowing assignments. He's good at doing his job as a tight end. And I feel like he's a great guy to have in the same room as an Irv Smith. I feel like they're very similar profiles where they're more of that receiving tight end, but they can still work as a blocker, especially on the perimeter in space. And that's where I really like his potential in this room, man, because I feel like they have Sample in there that can be more of that run blocker. He's not the crazy athlete that, we needed in that Chiefs game when they were bracketing T and Jamar, but he's a guy that can really work in that space, and he just finds a way. Again, some of these younger guys, the way to make it onto an NFL roster is just find ways to make things happen for your benefit, right? And that's where when you get called on, you got to make it happen. And he's a guy where he's making it really easy to call on him. I mean, it feels like he's open very often there in the middle of the field, man. He is a middle of the field merchant, brother. He loves finding that space under the safeties, man.
And not only that, like they're emphasizing the seam this year. He's perfect in the seam. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. There is not anything that I would change about Tanner Hudson in the way that he plays football right now, because he's a completely different tight end and similar to, I think, what we would get out of Irv Smith Jr. He just got a little bit more height to him. I think he's got a little bit more size to him. In my opinion, I think he looks like an actual tight end. I think Irv looks more of like a receiving, like a receiver out there than he does a tight end. But, we got to keep this guy. Okay, last one for you, Parker. And then, if you have any more, feel free to chime in. Raymond Johnson the third. Okay, Raymond Johnson the third. Okay, 3 sack in week 1, 2. I think he had 2 last week, and he had 1 this week. Raymond Johnson the third, a guy that I did not like. I love Raymond Johnson. Okay, he gives every bit of 110% effort every single time he's out there. He sets the edge really well. To me, he's a great run defender. Everything they ask him to do, he does it well. And there was even a running back screen tonight, blew it up. So Raymond Johnson, to me, he's been great. He's been great. And the back of this defensive line, there's just no room. There's absolutely no room. But to me, he's such a surprise that I think there might be, Parker, there might be some value there. And if all these teams are watching, hey, Raymond Johnson III keeps getting pressures and sacks every single preseason game, that's got to be worth something to me. Okay? So he's not going to make the roster. I agree. But the Bengals could use him if they feel like they could add elsewhere. And I think that's where the value in Raymond Johnson III lies. And to me, he has solidified himself at least in the NFL for another season.
Yeah, and that's where we've talked, and it's so hard, right? It is so difficult with this D-line because we've talked about the depth that they have and where it's like we're getting these guys in that they're showing good things, but who do you keep them over? And that's where Raymond Johnson third, if they can find a way to get him to the practice squad, get that guy stashed, and be able to keep him around if they need him for whatever the situation may be. If they can find a way to keep him in stripes this season, I feel like that's a guy that you're just like, wow, you were not supposed to play that well in these preseason games, buddy. You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to go out there and be very great in practice and be very just decent in these preseason games so we can keep you around. We can keep you around so when we start needing you, we start losing some of these veteran guys. We start, getting injuries throughout the season because they do happen. They do happen. But we need to be able to call up on you, my friend. And that's where I feel like the Bengals have like an interesting group of some of these bubble players that are just, man, I hope we can stash him. I hope we can keep this guy. I hope we can find a way to get him through waivers. And hopefully with the big influx we're going to get, and that's why I kind of like how many guys are going to get, you start moving teams here in a few days. I like the one big day because when you're letting a guy go one at a time or a couple here, a few here, people are able to see like, hey, let's look at this small list of guys that are available. Do we want to look at any of those guys? Do we want to try and get those guys in our building? But no, I feel like, he might be a guy that can make it through purely because people's eyes are too far up. They're not looking at these sleepers. They're not like the Bengals and finding these great value guys late in the draft and on free agency. I feel like he's a guy that we might be able to stash. And when we're talking about guys that we can stash on the practice squad, I feel like the Bengals have some good O-linemen. I got to bring up an O-lineman. I would
bring up an O-lineman, Parker, because I want to hear it. I'm excited about the O-line because of you. So you bring the energy to me with the offensive line in the way that you talk about him. So go ahead and bring up an offensive lineman for me.
I got to bring him. I got to bring one to the table, and we all know I love Ben Brown. Ben Brown is my guy. I think he's very consistent. I think he's very strong. I think he fits the profile, man. He looks good out there, and he's versatile. He can play center. He's got a lot of experience at center. He's got a lot of experience at guard. He moves well. He's strong. He uses his length well, and he's consistent. He's not like these high variable guys. You get these guys out there that they'll have these flash plays. Think about like a Jackson Carter where he's got plays where he's tossing guys into the sideline, scrapping with the other bench. He's got these plays where he's throwing these guys on the ground on the field and making these awesome run plays. But he's also got plays where he's getting beat bad, man. He's losing bad, and Ben Brown doesn't do that. He has his flash plays, and then he has plays like, that was a good play, man. He never has those big busts. He never has plays where it's like, man, what are you doing here? And I feel like he's a guy that I would love. Now, here's a guy that I would love to have on the practice squad, stash for a little bit. We're going to have some expiring contracts in the middle here in a couple years, and he's a guy you develop a little bit. He can be on your active roster here in a year or two, man. We all forgot about him last year when he got hurt. We forgot who Ben Brown was. We just moved on. We're like, oh, we got this rookie in. He got hurt. He didn't play all year, wasn't able to get reps, and he came in. What's he going to do? I put an article about like, hey, don't forget about Ben Brown. I put some clips out there. I was like, hey, don't forget about Ben Brown, and look what he's done. Look what he has done. I think early on he was battling Trey Hill, and then Max Sharpen came out of nowhere. But I think he's a guy that we can get in there. And once we get some of these veteran backups in, inject some youth in this offensive line game on.
Let's go. You got me fired up on the young guys out of this offensive line. I cannot wait for this season, man. It's only 2 weeks away, right? It's only 2 weeks away. We've got the season coming up, and we're going to be at Cleveland to start the season. Hey, look, I'm not going to say anything, but they didn't look so good. The starters, they didn't look so good. I'm just saying, maybe we got something there on our side. If Joey B plays like Joey B, maybe. I just cannot. Here's what I can't wait for. I cannot wait to just say, man, Orlando Brown Jr. played such a good first game. Like, you Chiefers were completely wrong about this guy. And he is, Parker, don't feel bad that I'm saying this, but he's so much better than how Jonah Williams played last year at left tackle. I cannot wait to say that. But, yeah, hey, chat, thank you for joining us tonight. You guys have been freaking fantastic. Parker, thank you for being here for your first episode, man. We loved having you. Anything you want to say before we get out of here?
Hey, I want to say thanks for having me on, but guess what, Game On? We're going to be back. You and I are going to be back talking football. We're going to get Eric back in here. We're going to be all talking football all year, during the game, post game. We're gonna be here, guys. We're gonna be here for you, chat. We're here for you guys in the chat. And now, don't worry, we won't forget. We won't forget who was here in the preseason when everyone was like, why are we getting excited about the Because we're excited about football, folks. We are excited about football because football is back, Game On. We're week 0 college football, week 3 of the preseason of the NFL. We are back, baby. I'm excited to watch Orlando Brown just stonewall Myles Garrett week 1. I am so ready to get this season going, man. I'm excited to see you again on this show. I'm excited to talk with all y'all on X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it nowadays. We'll be talking out there. We'll be hosting spaces. We'll be out here on the Chatterbox. Don't forget about Coach Caskey doing what he can do on the Chatterbox, man. We got some good stuff coming this year, man. I'm excited.
Off the bench during the week.
For this season.
Off the bench. They might invite us.
Forget about off the bench. It's how I start my day every day. How could I forget? 8 a.m. out here in Utah. I'm still watching.
Hey, you remember you were on off the bench earlier. You were like, I don't think I could bring the energy like Game On, but I'm feeling that energy from you tonight, brother. I absolutely love this, and I cannot wait. Thank you all for being here tonight. This has been a wonderful night. Who day, everybody?
Who day? Let's go, baby. No, you're good.